Uche never imagined her life would take such drastic turns. As a single mother of a 3-year-old boy named Dylan, she spent her days working as a cleaner at a prestigious oil company in Port Harcourt. Her dreams of becoming a doctor were dashed when she got pregnant. Shunned by her family, Uche was forced to fend for herself. But fate, unpredictable and unforgiving, had other plans. Uche's days followed a monotonous routine. Wake up early, take care of her little boy Dylan, drop him off at her neighbor's place, then head to work. Her job was far from glamorous, but it paid enough to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. Dreams of becoming a doctor still tugged at the edges of her mind, but the reality of being abandoned by her family after her pregnancy out of wedlock crushed those aspirations. Her parents had labeled her a disgrace, and with nowhere else to turn, she had resigned herself to this life of survival, her only goal now being to provide for Dylan. One afternoon, Uche entered the company's elevator heading to an executive floor. Just as the doors began to close, a man hurried in, breathing heavily. She glanced over, noticing his shallow breaths and the panic in his eyes. He stumbled back, clutching his chest. Without hesitation, Uche sprang into action, searching his briefcase for an inhaler. Her hands found it, and she helped him take a breath. Relief washed over them both as his breathing steadied. "Thank you," he murmured, his deep brown eyes filled with gratitude. "You're welcome," she replied, nervous but steady. "Maybe keep that inhaler closer next time." He chuckled weakly, still regaining his strength. Now that he was calm, Uche noticed his striking features: deep eyes, chiseled jaw, and an expensive, tailored suit. This wasn't just any man. It was Kola, the playboy son of the company's owner, known for his wild lifestyle. But now, with her help, he was simply a man she'd saved. As she left, Kola watched her walk away, feeling a powerful connection he couldn't ignore. For the first time, he felt something real. He knew he had to find a way to see her again. Fate had brought her into his life, and he couldn't let her go. Kola couldn't stop thinking about Uche. She was different. Unlike the women who constantly threw themselves at him, Uche seemed completely uninterested. Her calm composure during his asthma attack had captivated him, and her disinterest only fueled his obsession. Kola, who was used to being the center of attention, found Uche's indifference maddening. But in that frustration, a desire was born, a need to get closer to her, to make her see him. No longer content with being just another executive in her eyes, Kola began plotting. He couldn't approach her the way he did other women. This required subtlety. Knowing his father had the power to control staff assignments, Kola devised a plan. He would use his influence to have Uche reassigned. It didn't take much convincing. His father, eager to keep his son out of more tabloid trouble, agreed to the arrangement without a second thought. The next day, Uche was notified of her new position as Kola's personal housekeeper. When Uche received the news, a wave of unease swept over her. She didn't know why she had been singled out for the job, but something about it didn't sit right with her. With a heavy heart, she accepted the position, telling herself it was just another job, nothing more. Over the following weeks, a connection developed between Uche and Kola that neither had anticipated. Beneath his playboy persona, Uche saw a side of Kola few knew, vulnerable, compassionate, and yearning for something real. They shared late-night conversations about her dreams, her challenges as a single mother, and the harsh reality that had taken away her dream of becoming a doctor. One night, however, changed everything. Kola returned from a company event, stumbling drunk. Uche, finishing her shift, helped him to his room, but as she tucked him in, he gripped her wrist, pulling her closer. "Stay," he whispered, his voice filled with longing, his hand moving to the back of her neck. Panic surged through Uche, and memories of a traumatic assault she'd endured years ago resurfaced. Her voice broke as she pleaded, "No, please." She tore herself away, collapsing on the floor in tears, her past pain flooding back. Kola, still hazy, was horrified as she shared her story, a story of betrayal and trauma he'd never known. Filled with remorse, Kola apologized, heartbroken by her pain. I would never hurt you, Uche. I'm so sorry. Watching her, he realized the depth of his feelings. Fighting back his own tears, he promised her, I'll wait forever if I have to. I'll never touch you unless you want me to. With a final trembling look, Uchi whispered, I can't be touched, Kola. Not now. Kola, understanding the gravity of her pain, vowed silently to be the man she needed, patient, protective, and willing to wait as long as it took. After that night, Kola treated Uche with the utmost respect, honoring his promise. Their relationship deepened, but now it was built on mutual trust and understanding. Uche began to see a side of Kola that was far removed from his playboy persona. He was kind, patient, and deeply caring, especially with Dylan, Uche's son. The bond between Kola and Dylan grew strong, with Dylan often asking for Uncle Kola whenever he wasn't around. It wasn't long before Uche realized that she was falling for Kola, even though her past still haunted her. She couldn't deny the connection they shared, but fear held her back. One evening, Kola took Uche on a rooftop date under the starlit sky. The ambiance was romantic, and Uche found herself relaxing in his presence. As they gazed out over the city, Kola gently asked her if she remembered anything about the man who had raped her. I couldn't see his face, Uche admitted, her voice shaky. He was wearing a mask, and he was drunk. I doubt he even remembers what he did. Kola's jaw clenched at her words, a silent rage building inside him. He couldn't stand the thought of someone hurting Uche. Determined to find the man responsible, Kola secretly hired a private investigator to track down the rapist. He vowed to bring justice to Uche, no matter the cost. After several months of building a close friendship and going on numerous dates, Kola decided it was time to confess his love. He prepared an extravagant evening for Uche, a romantic dinner, candlelit walk by the beach, and finally, a heartfelt confession. I love you, Uche, Kola said, his voice filled with emotion. You've changed my life, and I want to be with you, truly. Moved by his sincerity, Uche finally decided to let go of her fears and embrace the love that had been growing between them. That night, they booked a hotel, ready to share a passionate moment together. As Uche slowly unbuttoned Kola's shirt, she froze. Her heart dropped as her eyes landed on the tattoo on his chest, the same tattoo of the Statue of Liberty that she had seen on the man who raped her. Shaking, Uche stepped back, tears welling up in her eyes. Kola, no, she stammered, her voice breaking. You were the one, that night. Kola looked at her, utterly confused. What are you talking about, Uche? I don't understand. The tattoo. The man who raped me had that same tattoo on his chest, Uche sobbed, backing away from him. How could you? Kola's face turned pale, horror dawning on him. No, Uche, I swear. I would never do that to you. I don't remember ever being at that party, I swear. But Uche couldn't hear him. She ran out of the room, devastated and broken, leaving Kola in a state of shock and confusion. Kola was drowning in disbelief. How could this be happening? He knew in his heart he wasn't capable of such an act, but the evidence was damning. The tattoo matched. Desperate to prove his innocence, Kola immediately hired another investigator to dig deeper into what really happened that night. As the days passed, Kola pieced together more details about the night of the party, uncovering a trail of secrets that led him to shocking revelations. Kola drove to Uche's house, tears blurring his vision as he finally uncovered the painful truth. He had been the one who assaulted her that night, a horrific act he couldn't remember because he'd been drugged. To his horror, he also realized he was Dylan's father. Desperate for forgiveness, he sped to her house, heart pounding with fear and regret. But when he reached her door and knocked, Uche refused to open it. Determined, Kola sank to the ground outside her door, resolving to wait as long as it took. Minutes turned to hours, and soon rain began to pour, drenching him completely. Finally, moved by his persistence and soaked appearance, Uche opened the door. The moment she did, Kola fell to his knees, eyes filled with remorse as he begged for her forgiveness, his voice breaking with every word. Should Uche forgive him? Let me know in the comments.